Welcome to today's Business Spotlight. Today, my guest is John Colgan from Solgari.com. John, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much. I'm lovely to be here.
So, to our audience, which consists of many, many small and medium-sized businesses, can you tell them what it is you do and how long have you been doing it?
What I'm doing currently is working with Solgari. I'm a founder, and we've been at it for, I suppose, a decade, but in earnest, probably 7 or 8 years. Um, so Solgari was based on, was founded to address a number of things. You know, customer service is what it's all about. And then you work back in from that. And if you look at the full range of customer service, what functions are relevant, what channels are relevant, all of those kind of things, how best to deploy from the customer's perspective. We felt that wasn't being done well, and still isn't being done well in many cases. So we created a platform called Solgari, which has all of the functionality from your mundane cloud telephony, inbound contact center, and very intelligent routing, outbound with all the usual stuff, the bulk SMS and the outbound dialers of various shapes and creeds, predictive and progressive, etc., recording and archiving and retrieval. So all of those functionalities for all of the channels integrated within it. And we realized very early that customer service was about data, and now we're all kind of blue in the face listening about AI, and of course AI is that it's about, in customer service, it's about gathering all the intel from the data. And what's great about Solgari is it was the first and still is the only one that was natively built with an integrated complete meta model. So it's a fancy term for saying that we thought of everything and we incorporated it into it. So all of the functionality and all of the channels. So you have all of the data. You're integrated back into your customer data. You all have all of the interactions because we've got all of them, all of the channels, including the social channels. You've got all the content of the interactions, and all of that is in real time. So if you want to help your agent or your person who's dealing with the customer service, they have access to all of this in real time, and they can deploy it in the customer's favor so that they can be up to date and know as much about the customer as the customer does and what's relevant and not relevant to them. And so the customer gets much better satisfaction because they're going to get first call resolution, and they're going to feel they're dealing with a competent company, and the agent isn't under the pressure that we know all agents are when we speak to them. And how many times have we said to an agent, look, I'm not giving out to you. I know it's not you. I know it's the systems you have, but we're getting rid of that. So we're deployed in 47 countries at this stage. We're a big Microsoft partner. We're integrated with Salesforce and Dynamics, and we're the most integrated with Teams. So from everything from big enterprise like the NHS who we service, etc., Clarion Housing, the largest housing agency in Europe, down to the SMB and the 10, 15 users who are using Teams and now can have all of what they would previously have had number of products to do for customer service, like contact center stuff and all that. That's all inside Teams now when you download the Solgari app. So we're certified by Microsoft.
For the uninitiated amongst us in the audience here, you have a piece of software, so you have a tool that you can resell to these customers. You find out what issues they're having with their UX, their user experiences. Is there any particular sectors you tend to concentrate on? Is it mainly tech, or is it retail, or?
Yeah, no, it's largely agnostic, Tom, because we've got healthcare customers, we've got FSI customers, manufacturing, retail, government, anyone who has customers to serve and wants to deploy as many channels as the customer would like them to deploy. And let's face it, we all use WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and SMS and voice, and we don't want to be confined. We'd like to be able to chop and change in the middle of all this. And so would the person in our company dealing with them be able to chop and change to best show them, actually, this product would be better for you than that one and all that. So move from maybe a text-based something to a video-based or whatever. Yeah. So it's about deploying something that creates that perfect connection between the person on the outside of the company and the person on the inside. And allowing that to happen effectively. So, we're very excited about, we've got sports companies. We've just gone live with the Atlanta Falcons NFL team.
Okay.
They're delighted with it from a customer service point of view. So, there's a lot of high profile. And what's different about us is we're not installing software. We're not taking time or project. You just connect to a service that is running globally on Microsoft Azure. I think we're on 19 or 20 Azure instances. You connect to the local ones and go. So we can configure you and have you live in a couple of days.
And do you have to train the people in how to use it, or is that all?
We've built that very intuitively, even the
Yeah.
management of it. We've got Solgari Hub. You can go in and you can add new users. You can move people from queue to queue if you're busy, or you can, replicate them across queues for busy times. All that stuff is so easy and intuitive. Change your opening hours, all the kind of contact center stuff. We've made that very simple. So no, there's a training class that lasts for maybe an hour,
Okay.
and everybody's happy.
Okay.
And then
So
we've got
it's a cloud service that they can download. They pay a monthly recurring revenue.
yeah,
fee,
they
so
don't
it's
even
going per
download.
user. Oh, they
Yeah,
don't download. Okay.
no, they just connect to it, and it's running from Azure in the cloud,
Okay.
and
Fantastic.
so there's no complication. And that's why it's so rapid speed to value for the customer, which people love.
So putting it succinctly then, in what makes you different to everybody else? Do you just simplify the whole process for them?
Yeah, we've modernized it. We kind of came into this when the cloud was mature. We weren't like the legacy providers who had a point solution for maybe a contact center, or they had a dialer, or they had a bulk SMS provider, or whatever. We didn't have that limitation. We came in and we looked at what are all of the functionalities and what are all the channels that are relevant now. Let's create something that is fully integrated so we can get real-time data and deploy it. And we're the first in the world to have a co-pilot in Microsoft. Microsoft are using it in their videos. It was shown at their FSI insurance conference recently. And so before even Microsoft had co-pilots, we had co-pilots and swarms, etc. Because we have that integration, it's so easy for us to extend and add new things, or to integrate with new things like workforce management or other CRMs or whatever. So yeah, it's a modern built cloud-based SaaS. Allowed us to deliver on the promise of the cloud. Connect and go is the first one, simplicity and cost effectiveness.
Good. So you get the efficiency out of it as well. You get your ROS on that. So back to the business then, and running the business. You're still a business person. You own a business. It's probably been a very, very simple journey so far.
It's never simple. This is my third or fourth time around the block, and you learn so much each time. And then, of course, I did a lot of coaching and mentoring in a Cambridge University IMI based kind of accelerated growth program that was sponsored by Enterprise Ireland, which was fantastic. I did two semesters of that and learned as much from that as I did from anything I did myself, because you're coming across other people's obstacles and hurdles and all that kind of good stuff, and learning to put good form on it. So it's never straightforward. It doesn't run in straight lines. It doesn't happen as quickly as anyone would like. But yeah, I think all of those learnings have allowed me to kind of step back up to my frameworks and my little tables that I have about various topics, and know that I can rely on them because I've used them previously, and I've used them with the people I was mentoring previously and seen the outcomes of them. So I've kind of honed it over the period of time. And it's certainly a lot simpler this time. And this is a lot bigger than anything I've done before, but it's a lot simpler this time than it was certainly my first time out. When I think back on Origin, a kind of a banking software and consultancy company that I had years ago, it was pure chaos.
That's interesting that you did the coaching, and being a coach myself, I have to ask you the question. Do you think that a lot of business people are scared of coaching, think they don't need it? And what is the push they need to say, maybe I should talk to a coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is I don't have time for it. And it's a bit like I don't have time to step out and get the couple of nuggets that are going to help me stop doing the wrong things. I think that's part of it. You're a busy fool a lot of the time when you're starting off, certainly the first 1 or 2 times around. Coaching is, I would recommend it to anyone and everybody. And I much as I've been through it myself, both on well, giving the coaching and previous experiences, I still have, you know, a mentorship network, albeit it's kind of informal now, that I go to all the time. Because if you're, you know, it's the cliche, if you're working in your business and you're busy, you're not stepping back to work on your business. And the strategy of, you know, where are you going, and are you doing it the right way, and has anything changed on the terrain that affects you, and how are you competitively, and how is your product fitting with the current and emerging needs of what the market is asking for. And particularly in our space, that's changing all the time. It's so dramatic. Coaching is, I think it's essential. If you make it without coaching, I think you're more lucky than talented.
Yeah. I think that's a great testimony, and thanks for doing that. That wasn't the reason for this interview, by the way, but I think it's fantastic to hear that coming out. So you've told us about the biggest learnings you've had since you became an employer. Do you employ a team, or do you work solo?
Oh no, we've got a team. We've got about 70 people dispersed across the globe, from Ireland, UK, Netherlands, Poland, Australia, the US, probably a few other places. So yeah, we're genuinely a cloud remote based company.
Yeah. So basically, the team are obviously very important to delivering your success. So what would you say your company looks for in the qualities of the employees you take on? What would be the top 3 qualities that you would look for?
Yeah, I mean, to me, there are kind of 3 things at a high level. There are three things that are really important. One is, you know, fuel. The fuel for the business is funding, and we can come back to funding if you want to talk about funding.
Yeah.
But without adequate funding, you know, particularly in our case, SaaS business building is slow, because you're not charging big lumpy software licenses or for product. You know, you're charging per user per month. So it builds slow. So adequate funding, that you can build your product out, that you can get all the certifications that you need, because that's really important now, that you can place it properly, like in our case, Azure, and, you know, all that on the marketplaces that we're selling through, and you know, do all the integrations we need with CRMs, with workforce management, with credit card processing systems, all of the satellite areas that we touch on, and then partner acquisition and retention. So how do you get the partners that are going to sell it? We sell through telcos, we sell through systems integration companies, we sell through marketplaces. And how do you get them and retain them and keep them informed and vibrant and stay at the front of their mind? So that the funding is the first part. The second part then is the people and building the right team. And I've got kind of 4 C's that I stick to. Competence, cooperation, communication, and consideration. And competence, if you've got people who are competent, is the first thing. You have to know what this is about and your space in that kind of full engine. You know, cooperation, you know, nobody works on their own. And, you know, we've seen, particularly in the telco business, when I kind of was acquired previously by Level 3 Communications in Denver, and I looked in the telecoms business, there were lots of genius engineers who had built these point solutions, but in isolation, and they didn't integrate with things easily. They weren't easy to use because they were geniuses and they knew how to use them, so they didn't make them user friendly. There was all this sort of disparate stuff. So cooperation is really important across the product set that you're going to offer the market, and across the people, because everybody knows something that someone else doesn't know. And you know, when you're working in a world where that's free and easy and cooperative, that's good. That brings in communications, the third C. You know, communication is key, internally, externally, up, down. You know, from my point of view, to our shareholders and our investors, to our employees and our cooperators, I call them. I don't call them employees, cooperators, because that's what we're about. We're all just cogs in a machine. You know, they should fit together beautifully. And then the last one, which I like, and I got this from my father, who wasn't in business at all. He was a very clever civil servant. But consideration, the person, you have to bring the person into it. You know, sometimes we'll trip and fall to the side of the road, and we need to have people around who will stop their own race, come back, pick them up, dust them down, help them along, and encourage them. And that could be internal, or it could be a customer, or it could be a partner. So, competence, cooperation, communication, and consideration are four key things for me. And then when
Love
I'm
it.
hiring people like into that, I asked three questions that I got from a previous boss that I had years and years ago. Would you buy from them? Would you work for them? And would you bring them home to meet your family? And if the answers to the three of those is yes, you're lucky. You've got a
You're
good.
pretty good space.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love that. Great learnings for everyone here on that. Two more last questions I want to ask you there. One, what does the future look like in your industry over the next 5 to 10 years? AI is coming on. A lot of people are afraid of it. They don't understand it. It's been integrated into a lot of programs that we all have now. So where do you think your industry is going to go in the next 5, 10 years?
Yeah, and I mean we're in a really fast changing industry,
Mm.
and like that's the third, I suppose, leg on the stool in terms of the three: the funding, the right team, and the third one then is the product market fit. And in our case, product market fit, changes like weekly. Um, there's in some slight nuance or other that's been brought into play, and so keeping an eye on that and I don't keep an eye on it from the competitive point of view so much as the market ask point of view. So our product has been built by our customers, effectively their requests, and when we see a request, we look at it and we categorize it. Is that a generally applicable useful thing, or is it a once-off that they have a specific need for? Now, it doesn't mean we won't do both. We generally do, but we place much more emphasis on the one that is general applicability, because that's clearly a direction that the market is going, that they're being asked for by their customers. They see the swell of interest in that particular thing. And so we're very cognizant of that. We're very aware. We're kind of like meerkats up looking around at everything that's going on in our customer base and what their pressures are and what their aspirations are. And we're trying to make sure that we can accommodate all of those things. So yeah, there's a big change. AI is, I don't think it's anything to be afraid of. I think it's a very useful thing. We have it embedded in all our capabilities straight away. As I mentioned, things like swarms, etc., very useful. A swarm is a very simple thing. I'm on to you in a call. Let's say you're asking me some questions. You ask me 2 or 3 questions. The third one down, I'm thinking, oh, I'm not so sure about that. I can put my question about that into a title of a swarm, send the conversation summary, which is AI, out to 3 or 4 people I pick in a swarm. They can come back to me and say, oh, the answer is this, or here's a link to a knowledge article you might send on to Tom, or whatever. This is helping me as the agent, from
Yes.
and so I'm going to have the other side of this is not just customer satisfaction.
So it's leveraging as well.
Of course it is. And
Yes.
it's helping me do a better job. And actually, in a lot of cases, it's taking the mundane stuff out. The alternative is I go off the call and I go and I find Joe and I ask him the question, or I go and I look up a load of stuff and then I get back to you. Now, it's 2 calls for you. It's a bit irritating versus the first call resolution. It's irritating for me because, I'm not getting my job done. I'm having to go and research this, or somebody is. So it's definitely an efficiency and a customer service. So your customer satisfaction goes up as well. So it's a help. I see it as a help.
Excellent. So keeping it human, keeping the relationship, which we talked about earlier on, is very, very important. You can have all the tech and everything else, but the human interaction is very important. One last question let me ask you. What advice would you give to an 18-year-old you?
Yeah, so I would say if you're the company you're joining, and I'm not going to tell you what to pick, whether you want to be a designer or you want to be a programmer, or you want to be whatever you want to be. I would say that the organization you join, you should hope that, and this is the transformation that I went through when I did the coaching diploma in the IMI, which is really corporate psychology, I think. I went from when I had Origin being so involved in absolutely everything that I think people saw it as dictatorial. But I was so immersed in this, it had to work, and the detail of everything, and working the 16 hours a day and all that 7 days a week sort of stuff. The transformation in me was to to move to a point where you give people ownership. You allow people to define their own processes. Not only do they define them and they're better because they're focused on them and they have more quality, more time to put into them. So you get better quality processes, but you get total buy-in because they own them. They created them, they own them. And we've done that in Solgari in spades. People have defined all these processes that we do for our customer onboarding, our customer care, our partner care, all of that sort of stuff. Join a company where you're going to be given the space. And, one of the great pieces of advice I got was we looked at in the IM, we looked at a video of a kind of a boardroom table. It was a management meeting, and there was this kind of person in on an internship sitting at the end of the table, and nobody was asking any questions of the person. The topic they were talking about was very modern, and it was kind of TikTok-y. And these people were, my vintage, but they were more senior, so they were giving their opinions. And the person at the end of the table, somebody turned to them eventually, who had brought them in as an internship, and said, "What do you think of this?" And they gave this beautiful, eloquent answer about exactly what they should do in the modern paradigm. And so, if you are a new young person, have the confidence to know you have a lot to offer.
Yes.
And look for the opportunity and the space to offer that, and be a cooperator that you can be allowed to contribute from day one.
And equally to the employers, give them a voice, let them out, let them involve them, include them in the process.
Yeah, Solgari is a great example of that versus Origin, where this is a company owned by everybody, all my fellow cooperators.
Super. John, thank you so much indeed for your time. For people who want to get in touch with John, you can go to Solgari, SOLGARI.com. And if they want to have a conversation with somebody, I'm sure they can, John, yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic.
Anytime.
John, I could talk to you all day. You're very inspiring. It's been a pleasure having on the Business Spotlight today. Many thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom.